welcome to the League of Extraordinary Atheists for Humanism, where we attempt to apply logic and reason to religion and politics. I'm here with my wonderful, beautiful co-host, Christy Santiago.
Wonderful and beautiful every week. Goes to my head. Thank you. Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to LEAH, as the cool kids call it. I like that. I'm not a cool kid, so I have to say as the cool kids say it. I did get a really cool thing right here. I have to kind of point it out from a very good friend, and it says sassy, classy, and badassy. And I love it.
I'm jealous. I don't have one.
I just think it's so cool. Every time I see it there, I'm like, yes. Oh yeah, there is a crazy festive cup behind me. I do hair, as you guys know, and so I have extra extensions and hair pieces. And this is a skeleton cup.
Oh, neat.
With a whole bunch of hair.
I dig it. I dig it. Very nice. Speaking of hair, yours looks extra like luscious tonight. It is awesome.
It looks like a commercial.
Yes.
Hold on. I did this on purpose, just for you, Matt.
Oh.
The fan.
I thought I was your biggest fan, and you have.
Yeah. Actually, do you see how little this is? You're definitely still my biggest fan.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely big. Also, I also wanted to make note that we are also here with our. I need to think of some really good adjectives for our invisible man behind the
definitely
the screen. I need to work on that. Nacho Witness is our producer, and I want to make sure I point it out more often. You should have put yourself in the picture here. I feel like you didn't, and like it would have been great if you were just like laying on the couch, my man.
Yes, with a loincloth only, just kind of.
Oh,
never mind.
Loincloth, cloth nacho.
I mean, how much fun is the word loincloth?
It's pretty fun.
Or loins. I can't take it seriously. Or copulation. Okay, I can be in the most serious lecture listening, and this professor is talking about, the sex therapist and going into all these things that I find fascinating and I'm learning, and then they say copulation and something about the immaturity level that is in like 70% of my brain. I'm like, don't do it. It's just like, who says you're ready to copulate? I hope no one, unless they want like to happen.
Right, yeah. I mean, like, the English language is goofy and expansive. Like, you could have picked a different word.
Yes.
You know who
intercourse would have been fine.
It's not one of those that just rolled off the tongue.
No, and she said it like 18 times, and every time it got funnier and funnier. Oh, yeah, maybe it's just me, but copulate is kind of funny.
It is pretty funny.
I mean, if I'm watching an animal documentary, it doesn't really bother me. It's my human bias. I need to work on that.
You need to copulate on that.
I think you do. Speaking of human bias, did you get did you see Cosmic Skeptic's news video?
I have not.
Interesting.
I should watch it. Okay. I'm sure it's on my list. It's like 20 down right now, but I can move it up if it's that good. Yeah, definitely.
I'm hesitant to say it's that good. I mean, it's good. It is absolutely good, but it's a completely different attitude. Like I almost feel like he did it high and drunk. Because like his eyes are red.
What are you trying to say about me, Mac?
I said him. No, like he came off so angry the whole time. Very nice. And it was very different. It was not the normal classic Alex
Right.
O'Connor that we know.
He had some stuff to get out, maybe. Now I'm really curious.
And it was on like veganism, vegetarianism.
Yeah, I've seen that there's a few in our community that keep learning, and the more they learn, the more they're finding that that's the way that they want to go. And
Yeah.
I totally respect it. I am not wealthy enough to do that right now. It's just not. I had Lucky Charms for dinner, so I'm right there with you, Mac.
This is white chicken chili.
I thought it was cereal. It looked like milk on the bottom and flakes on top. But now that I see the heat, it's definitely not cereal unless you warm your cereal it up. And if you do that out there, YouTube world, you're weird. I mean,
with a ton of brown sugar. So let me get on to our first topic, which is Souptober. If you didn't know, we've been doing this thing at our house where every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we make another soup. I'm sorry, Nacha, I led you on. That was rude. We'll get right into the actual topic here in a second.
Personal topics are fine.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday, even when I had to go on another quarantine, like we kept with it. Like we did ramen noodles like as a soup one night. So like we kind of cheated, but like it's still technically a soup, at least how we had it.
Right.
Yeah, but we started with like a beef stew, like a ground beef stew. And then we did the next one was my choice, and I was super excited for it. Now I can't remember what it was. What was it? Do you remember? No. It was the chicken tortilla soup.
Yeah.
So good. I don't remember all of them like in order, but those were the first two. We ended with white chicken chili because like it's kind of the coolest. I think it was a good one to like end on. And like we got so much practice before, it was like so easy for her to just take over and do. The other day we did what? Oh yeah, vegetable beef, and it was so good. We let it cook for like 3 hours, and it just wasn't done enough. So we let it cook like in the crock pot on low overnight. Whole new world.
Next time you make vegetable and barley, vegetable and beef, cook barley as well and add it to it, and it will be on a whole new level of deliciousness and better for you. It's like the little round noodles almost, but it's not, you know. It's
like a little wheat noodle or something. Yeah.
It's in the same. That's where you're gonna find it. Isn't all the beans? Yeah.
Excuse me. All right, I'm sorry. Yeah, we did a gumbo. We did just like all sorts of shit. It was great. Like Souptober has been awesome. I'm coming back and doing this again next October. I'm not opting out of any October ever again. It's gonna be Souptober for the rest of my life. I love soup. One extra thing on top of that, not that you guys need to know, care to know, but I want to tell you that in the martial arts, if you don't know, I also teach martial arts. You're supposed to do like a kiap, and a kiap is the Korean term for spirit yell, or just like that hi-ya that you get with things that you do. So whenever I like exert or take in any force, you do like a soup. Yeah. I literally say soup all the time. And when I point it out to my kids, they're like, oh my gosh, he does all the time. And then I keep doing it. They're like, please stop. Why are you like this? And I think it's
because hilarious. It's funnier.
It's funnier, and I love soup.
Yeah.
Soup.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm-
Love soup. All right. That being said,
yeah.
do you have anything to say about soup?
I do not. I do have one personal bit of news just because I am so super stoked and feel very appreciated. I got something in the mail and it said from the ACA on the outside, the, atheist community of Austin. I opened the letter and it said, "Dear Christy, the atheistic community of Austin would like to thank you for the effort of putting into the production of our shows. While sometimes uncertain and constantly changing physical and social environments we find ourselves these days, we wonder if what we're doing is actually having a positive impact on the communities that we are reaching out to. This may be true for you. It is definitely true for the ACA. In general, we are always trying to find ways to making sure that we do not overlook the contributions of our volunteers, whether that me be mentioning them in show credits, thanking them in our chat groups, or in what we are sending you today. The coaster accompanying this letter is just a small token of appreciation. You will notice that your exact role on the show isn't mentioned, and this is on purpose because there are no insignificant or more significant roles, in our opinion, regarding people contributing to the production of the ACA shows, and each role helps to further our mission. Hopefully, this small gift will remind you that we really do appreciate the time and effort of volunteers like you who show up every single week and who are putting in the work. Thank you again for all the hard work, and we hope to continue your generous gifts of time and effort and dedication to the ACA as you have all this time. It's signed by Matt Dillahunty and Greg James. That's my letter, and it's going to be backwards, and I do not know how to flip it, but I will say it says official host / crew member of the atheist community of Austin, and then it has ACA and my name spelled exactly perfect. And it's a coaster that is made specifically for me. It made my day because I did not, I mean, I show up because I want to. I show up because I see how important it is, only because, and not just only because, mainly because I was able to let go of a lot of magical thinking by watching the ACA. By listening to people call in and ask questions that I know are absolutely ridiculous, it helps me be able to answer people when they ask me questions before I learned better, what my face would be like, fuck. So that helps nothing, by the way, world. But by, saying interesting, I used to believe in God too, and try not to let them know what and where you stand, but keep asking questions. I love that stance. And don't get me wrong, I think Talk Heathen is a totally different show. They try not to hang up on people. They try to be more empathetic. And that was missing. That's a reason why Mac and I and Nacha, started this, was because we saw a huge hole in the atheist community of no compassion, no empathy, no humanism, just great to have facts and let go of magical thinking, but that you can't end there. Yeah, you can't end there. You have to keep going. You have to keep learning. So I will be there until someday when either the show changes where I don't believe in it anymore or I die. I just believe in it that much. It helped me. I've sent it to people who the feedback I get back at first is Matt's very aggressive. So I send them Talk Heathen and they love it. And then later on they watch AXP because it comes on later on the same channel. And then it's not as bad because they've kind of been like, well, he's right. He might have been an ass about it, but he was right. So, however, my feelings on Matt, I love him. There is a time and a place for someone to be that blunt. There really is. For me, if someone was to say, no, you're wrong, here, let me show you. And then there's everything I need, and I can look through it, look it up on my own, and find out they're right. My new opinion has changed. Now, that's right. So Matt, to me, by saying, no, you're not, and here's why, is all I need. Especially when he's telling someone who's not me, and I don't have to feel that embarrassment. I think that that format is imperative to changing thinking. So I'm honored to get something as simple as a coaster. I think it means way more to me than a coaster ever would. And I don't even want to put a drink on it because I break everything. So
Gotta pop it right up there on the wall.
yeah, definitely. Somewhere
There.
right here. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so
So
cool.
ACA, I know some of you guys check in on me from time to time, and I appreciate you guys appreciating me, and I appreciate feeling appreciated. It feels stupendous. Stupendous. Stupender's not a word, Christine. It's 2020. Any word, confefe. Stupender. There it is, folks. Folks.
So I got a little exciting.
I had one sip of wine. I am such a lightweight.
I've had
Stacey
two.
knows she gets me 2 drinks. She can just take me home.
I'm gonna have to take you home.
Drive safe.
Yes, absolutely. We do have an interesting show tonight. It's something we've done many times before. Whenever there's anxiety, debunk, I'm telling fake news, apparently. We call it comfy combo. We show up in comfy clothes. I couldn't decide. There's so many stories going on. There's too much for my mind to handle. Also following everything else. For the last couple days, I've actually been throwing up and not feeling good. And so I just thought, I can't pick a topic seeing all this news coming in that I want to read, and I don't have enough information on any of them. Can we just have, which we haven't, and I think it's important to kind of touch base with each other, without telling stories necessarily, with just talking, like, where are we on this and how are we feeling on this? And definitely policy that we see happening, and different leaders that we see doing things good, bad, and different. And definitely, how do we feel about it? It's hard to talk about possibilities that haven't happened, but the election is going to happen. What we don't know is what's going to happen after, and what we probably need to be ready for. There's so anxiety up to here, and I have friends messaging me from all over the globe asking me questions like, how is this possible? How did this new Supreme Court, why do you only have like this many? Why don't you have like 20 or 30? By having under 10 justices, the power of the country rests in 9 humans. That's insane. And lots of things to think about like that. So I thought maybe we'll have a drink. I actually put grapes in here, so it would be like a real sangria because I'm fancy.
Very nice.
Sassy, classy, and badassy.
I just have a simple Riesling. No grapes.
Wait, Stacy, what's Riesling?
Wine.
Okay.
Wine.
She was a bartender. I was too, but I was a bartender in a strip club, and
It's a little more like refreshing,
different.
Like, than your sangria.
Yeah, mine's really sweet, like almost like a kid's drink, unfortunately. Yeah. I know. So I'm probably gonna be really dehydrated and have a headache from all the sugar. But for LEAH, I will do it.
Are you doing it for LEAH?
I'm doing it for LEAH. I'm doing it for the league.
There we go.
The league comes before me.
She's
we are the league.
Proud of you.
Yay. That's so sweet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it. We're actually going to talk about the topic of the night.
Yeah.
We could just like switch back to Comfy Combo after we're done with
I'm
this.
sure the whole thing will be Comfy Combo with topics in it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how we do it every time. We're too topic and policy oriented to not include them.
Things I would like to talk about tonight is, and I'll end with the one we're going to just go into, is, oh no, I forgot all the rest of them, except one. The main thing that I really want to talk about, I'm not sure if you watched it or if you care to, the Joe Rogan with Tim Dillon and Alex Jones. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
It was
Alex
very
Jones and Joe Biden were in the same room.
Joe Rogan.
No,
Oh,
Tim Dillon.
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan, Tim Dillon, and
okay, I'm gonna sound like an East Coast elite liberal for a second, which you guys know I'm not.
Let's do it.
But I don't have unlimited time. So if Joe Rogan has someone like Dr. Cornel West on, I'm watching and listening to the whole damn thing in regular speed. If he has Dr. Wolf on, if he has somebody who I don't even have to agree with, I just know they're super smart and have done lots of work and I'm curious to what they have to say, I listen to the whole thing. But if I see someone like, you know, they're making the frogs gay, my brain cells are trying to grow, not break. And maybe I should listen to it ironically.
You have to stretch them. You have to stretch them sometimes, right? It's like I tell you, sometimes I watch Tucker Carlson.
And I do actually watch Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, this is worth watching. This really is worth watching, the whole 3 hours and 11 minutes of it. It really is worth it. There's some good, juicy, like, tidbits in there. There's some like good craziness in there. He gets hyped up a couple times. He like fucking barf. Like, God damn it.
See, I just can't handle him. I would have to listen to it at fast speed. His voice makes me want to vomit. Besides his show, who he is as a person, that's what I've read about, and not from anonymous sources, from people in his life who have had to leave. And I just don't want anyone to think. I would just have to go onto YouTube unsigned in to watch it. Yeah. Because I just don't want anyone to think that people want to see him. Yeah. So my elite liberal is over.
Smitty said down in the chat, there really were frogs whose sexuality was changed by pollution. LOL, that shit is true. And yeah, I heard that was true as well.
Yes, I actually looked into it, and they were changing. However, there are many species throughout the history of this planet who have had to change sex to keep their species going. So yes, I read that too. And I thought, okay, but what he said is not what I want journalism to be. I don't think he's journalism at all. In any sense of the word. He's a grifter and a liar and sells supplements that are made in inhumane ways. They're made in foreign countries. They're made by people who do not get paid enough. And there are zero reasons to think that they do what they say they're going to do. He's a grifter. But because you said that there were enough things that I'm interested in, I will give it a watch. Probably on 1.5.
There you go. That's fine. But I highly recommend it. It will stretch your brain cells a little bit. It won't break. It was not a shit show. It was actually.
If my brain breaks, everybody right now heard that. It is totally Mac's fault.
It's my fault.
I show up next week and I'm like I had a lobotomy.
I'll just leave it. Trump got reelected. She watched Alex Jones for 3 hours and 11 minutes. Christy's
And this will be
out
Christy every week.
until next year. Another thing I'll just mention, because we actually went into that, is I got this, guys. It's been a year and a half.
Nice.
Since I ordered it, and I'm so excited. Got it just the other day. Oh, I'm so stoked to like play this game, and I wanted to play it online with people. I don't know how to do that. I can't. I have to just hand out like parts of the deck to other people, or just have people here and sit down and play. But yeah, I'm super excited to have a copy of Debunked. It has, if you guys didn't see, it's signed by Stephen Woodford, and I'm super stoked. If nothing else, if I like never get to play it, I'm really happy to have the cards on the inside that help explain all the logical fallacies, and just to play through the game is a good philosophical exercise. And says on the front, 2 minutes to learn, 10 to 20 minutes to play. Cool, fun stuff. Okay, actually, Amy Coney Barrett. She is now, she's been confirmed on the Supreme Court. Take a drink. So this isn't great for multiple reasons. A lot of liberal, more lefty positions and policies could be compromised, right? We don't need to get into all those. They're pretty obvious which ones. The thing that I really want to talk about, though, is like what this means for the progressive movement and how we got here. Because obviously Trump's president, right? He can pick whoever he wants for the Supreme Court all the way up into the last week before the election. My camera, I'm sorry, in my hand. Hope that helps. He can pick anyone he wants to be confirmed on the Supreme Court. Again, up until like the week of the election, or even past. Like, as he's a lame duck president, I'm pretty sure he can still do that. But Congress has to confirm his pick. Now, I don't really need to explain to anyone tuning in on this show how they did that with Merrick Garland for Obama. They did that, what, like as soon as April of the election year? Is that right? April? Remember, Christy?
I don't remember the exact date.
No. I remember it was definitely earlier.
It was over a year. They kept Merrick Garland's seat open.
Over a year?
Over a year. And on top of that, you can go online to YouTube and look up GOP stating out loud on a stage that whoever got in next, if it was Obama, because it was in 2012, or the other Democrat who was running, if they were running against him, which not, that wasn't happening. There were a few, but that was never going to happen. Their main objective, and Mitch McConnell is involved in this. I think he is the one on stage saying it. Our entire objective will be to keep those seats at the federal level, which there are almost 300 of them, open, and any Supreme Court seat open, including Merrick Garland's. That is not his. And that's what they did. They filibustered. They made sure that in all of the wrong ways. And what really makes me mad is I understand the moral ground. Believe me, I do. It's gotten me nowhere my entire life, but I find that it is integral to who I am. However, I'm not in politics because I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle the backstabbing, the hypocrisy and the stealing and the lying, and I couldn't handle it. However, some people can, and those people that can have a big responsibility to make sure that these things are handled the most egalitarian way, with the most transparency. And I think, unfortunately, I was just thinking the other day, kings and queens lasted for what, a couple thousand years? Feudalism lasted for many hundred years. Capitalism has lasted, at minimum since late 1500s, when it started, things started changing. 16 and 1700s, when it was like, okay, this is what we're doing. So a few hundred years. If we go by that, shouldn't it be around the time where our next economic system comes into play? Which I say, let's make everybody happy and have a mixed economy. And Amy Conant, Bennett, she is never going to let those things happen. And like I said, everything that I read about her, I tried to stay away from the political, because not only is it biased, I don't want to read things that I'm like, yeah, I totally agree with, and then read other things that I'm like, these are all lies, without first reading all the things that would inform me enough to be able to read those two sides and be like, okay, they're biased, even though I agree with them, they went further than they needed to. And this side is telling lies, but I don't want to read those two without having the information yet. However, I have been reading a lot of her. I mean, she front paged an entire fucking essay almost about how Roe v. needs to be completely eliminated. And her reason was because it's barbaric. Not that sticking a hanger in a girl in an alleyway and that she dies of it is not barbaric, but a legal and safe way of abortion. By the way, don't believe me on this, look it up. An abortion is so many times more safer than a pregnancy. And forcing a human, and I'm going to say human because many people identify as men and women and can still have babies. So I'm going to say human. You're forcing a human to carry to term something growing in them, which they feel as a fucking parasite because of how it got there, and that they don't want it there. And then they could die in birth or have to hand it over and feel like the worst kind of person in the world. Or you could have a procedure on a zygote, which, I mean, think of skin cells. That's pretty much what it looks like as a zygote. There's no nerves. I just don't understand. And most abortions, I found out almost 80% of abortions in this country happen with pills. You get a couple pills, you take one or two, and then in a few hours you take another one, and then it just expels from your body. And then you go back in 2 weeks to make sure that everything's out. You don't need a DNC. And that's safe. Not sticking things in there by people who say they can do it to a desperate girl that just needs it done and believes her and can't, or doesn't take care of their tools, or there's no aftercare. She is terrifying to me, because of not anything that had to do with the trial, not anything that had to do political, with what she has said as somebody who didn't have these titles, as herself, how she feels. And do I believe that people can do a job unbiased, even though they feel one way or another, if they're dedicated to it, like journalism? Yes, I do. However, I know the Trump administration, and that's not what the fuck they're looking for. We know what they're looking for. If anybody remembers 2000, I was in Florida, the Jeb v. Bush. They had the Supreme Court stop all the counting. Lots of right wingers came out to the poll places and surrounded them. Some had guns. They wouldn't stop beating on the walls. The people inside were terrified. Even though police were called, the police weren't going to do shit. And the whole reason was because the Supreme Court demanded that there be no more counting. Bush won. However, journalists took on the job of collecting every single ballot and setting a room up and counting them by hand. And at the end, they found overwhelmingly that Jeb won over Bush in Florida. A Democrat won over a Republican in Florida. And so I have my issues with Jeb Bush too. However, I know where his heart is, and I know the policies he stands for. And there's only a few that I disagree with him on. The majority, I do disagree. I do agree with him wholeheartedly. And there hasn't been a president of late that I can say there's only a few policies I disagree with them on. The most of them I agree with. I would love to work with that. I don't see that happening to us. I'm really scared. Really scared. And Clarence Thomas on the Supreme Court, talk about SCOTUS. Trump just had a private meeting with him in his house that lasted a little while. Right. Think about this. Terrence is going to be in his 90s during the next administration. Especially 8 years, he's going to be really old. So does he have kids and grandbabies? Right. He's probably being talked into, and this is all my opinion, guys. I have zero evidence for this. However, I feel like I'm informed enough to let you know my opinion, and I do have conviction in my opinion. It would be something that would happen to say, hey, step down, resign, say you want to spend time with your family. It works for everybody like this. They all say that. And it's believable. I would do that to spend time with my family. Most people would do that to spend time with their family, especially people who love their family. Well, if Clarence Thomas says, I'm actually resigning because I want to spend time with my family, Trump could have a fourth, because not until January would he be inaugurated. So think about that. And if we have Trump having 230 to 50 federal judges placed in less than 4 years at the federal level, okay, we could have a completely liberal, all three governments, the Congress, the Senate, and the presidency. It could be all Democratic. However, the courts and the federal courts are completely conservative, and some of them even believe in QAnon shit. So there's going to be some push there. And everything that the three branches of government agree on, put together as a policy, sign, and be ready to do it, the judges can stop it. That's terrifying. So I do love that the numbers of people that have already voted is higher already. It's not even over. It's higher than the last 2-3 votes or voting periods, elections. Some states it's been like 60% have voted. That's cray bananas. Because mostly we get anywhere between 35% and 51%. 51% is rare. It's normally under 50%. It's normally 30 to 40% of the nation votes. And that's in election votes. In the 2 years, every 2 years when we do Senate and Congress, it's less than that. In some states, it's like 11%. And you know who those 11% are, right? They don't have a day job. They volunteer everywhere. They're lots of money, whether it's old money or invested money or earned money. It doesn't matter. These are the people who are going to be doing that. And when they're doing that, they don't have to come out and say, I'm doing it to protect my own interests. They don't even have to say that. They could say anything they want wonderful. But when they go down to put pen to paper, they're not going to sign shit that goes against their best interest. And that's where the regular people are totally screwed. That's why we need regular people running.
It's also why we really need to make our voting day a national holiday.
I so agree. So many countries have already done that. Already done that. And it's, people are excited. There's food out there. There's, everybody's happy to be part of democracy because they've had dictatorships, coup d'etat via the USA, dictatorships. So their democracy is very important, and having a national day means especially the poor can vote, because when there's not a national day off, the wealthy can still go. The people with power can still go. It's the frontline workers, the grocery store workers, the gas station workers, the CVS workers, the Starbucks workers. They don't get to vote because they can't wait in a line for 8 hours. They have to be at work for 8 hours. And if you want to know my absolute knowledge on why that happens, it's on purpose, and it is called voter suppression. It is a 2020 version of standing outside a polling place in an intimidating way with a gun. It is, as we have learned that you cannot just do a coup d'etat, everybody comes in, shoots everybody, and takes over. The world's not going to stand for it. Everybody has a camera phone. They do now soft coups, as we've seen all over South America in the last 40 years. Soft coups. We saw them turn in from hard to soft coups. Well, it's the same way with voter suppression. Even though Trump said that it is now legal, and the Supreme Court said it is now legal to show up at polling places armed. Supreme Court. That's why I'm saying, when I said there are too many topics, I couldn't pick one. There's so many things going through my head that I'm worried about, that I have anxiety about, and not just for Stacy and I, that what if, this new Supreme Court, the girl, she also has written how one of the first things that needs to, in the name of everything that's holy, or everything, I'm ad-libbing her story, in the name of God, and because of her religious experiences and her religion, that the Bible says marriage is between one man and one woman, and one of the first things that will save our country from damnation from the gods, from Yahweh, would be to eliminate that. And so I feel that if we get to the Congress and the Senate and executive, if we get all three, we should spend that capital on turning all of these things that could be taken away from the most vulnerable into laws. I just do, because the president signs them. I just, and there's going to be a lot of people that say there's so many more things that's important. However, human rights is disappearing in this country for the least among us. And if the rest of us can stand up for them, the government will think differently, like, ooh, we really can't treat them like that, because nobody likes it. It's why you can't take Social Security away. Like, Grandpa will show up at the White House with all kinds of signs, believe it. He will travel cross country in his Winnebago to tell the presidential White House how nobody's taking his Medicare. However, I want to caveat on a joke, and I hope you guys get it. So I saw signs when Obama was running for the second time of very conservative people who were by other people that were doing the Hail Hitler thingy, with signs that says, government, stay away from my Medicare. Do you see what I'm saying right now? Do they know where their Medicare comes from? What do you mean stay away from it? I can't
At
talk
least-
to you.
At least they care enough
However,
to try to fight for it.
they wouldn't have it had FDR not mandate and make it law that everybody over a certain age gets taken care of.
Yeah.
It was from the Great Depression, and nobody could take care of their mother or fathers, and elderly who didn't have any children were dying on the street. They were dying of starvation in their houses. And he was like, no, not underneath my watch. And he went to the wealthiest and he said, listen, here's the problem. We have communists and socialists in the streets right now by the millions. They're saying they want to take away your capitalism. However, if you give me the money so that I can do Social Security and when you lose your job, unemployment, and he did many other programs too. If you guys can give me that instead of taxes this year, just to me for this project, I will tell them to cut it off with the anti-capitalism talk, to cut it off with pushing communism, to put it off with talking about labor parties and all of that. And it happened because all of a sudden, who's going to be mad when grandpa's getting a check? And, affordable housing started to become a thing, and women's rights were becoming even bigger of a thing. I mean, there was a lot happening right there. So it was the compromise. And it's funny, Professor Richard Wolff talks about, you can tell that time within an 18-month period after those laws became laws, Social Security, unemployment, and a few others, especially putting like 15 million Americans to work, saying if the private sector cannot hire these unemployed Americans, then the government will. And that really pissed the, corporations off. And the government did and paid them better than any private place because they gave them unions and union pay. So all of a sudden, these people who had been starving through the Great Depression, many family members dying of starvation. You're talking young kids in their 20s and early 30s, even teenagers showing up to do these jobs with all of their teeth rotten. They've never been to a dentist, never had a tetanus shot, never been to the doctor. And FDR saw that and was like, no. So each working camp, he'd set up a doctor station with nurses and doctors who could see every single person. No cost, doesn't come out of your pay. It's because I care about Americans, and you can't do your best job if you're not healthy. And so if I want other countries to look in at my country, I don't want them to see like, ooh, what the fuck are you guys doing over there? Yeah. I want them to see, wow, you're really making a difference in this Great Depression. And he wasn't perfect by any means, but I'm ready for a president that will say, let's try this. It didn't work. Let's try this. It didn't work. Let's try this. I just take your political capital. And when you have capital, you invest it, which means you lose some. Doesn't mean you won't gain it back. Depends on how you do it. And if 87% of the United States of America want Medicare for all, that is what a democracy should give the people. So I know Joe Biden is not for it. However, we've waited this long, lobbying for 4 more years. Maybe we can get someone who will run against Joe, who is further to the left on humanist policies and will make sure Medicare for all happens. I'm okay with public option being for Joe Biden, not for someone who I really loved, but someone like Joe Biden to say, we'll start with a public option. Now, insurance companies are fighting that because they know the data's in, other countries have done it. People jump into that because it's way more affordable, and because more people are in it, more things are offered at way cheaper prices. Insurance companies lose out. So they're fighting that so hard. It's the same thing as public banks in this country. You guys ever heard a story about public banks? Look into them. It'll blow your mind how they shut them down. Yes, Mac, my favorite student.
Yes, Christy, I have a question.
Miss Christy to you. I'm sorry, Miss Nasty. Wait, how does Janet Jackson say it? No, Miss Jackson if you're nasty. I messed that all up. Total white girl moment.
Well, my question is, if these private companies want a good, fair, free market, why are they afraid of competition?
Because they don't want that free market. They would prefer it to be a monopoly with them at the top. And any mom and pop store that opens in a small area that has nothing to do with them is just fine, unless for some reason moving to that area would be more beneficial to them, then they will shut down those mom and pop businesses. So I have not watched it yet. I'm pretty sure it's on Jacobin, and it says nationalize Walmart. And I cannot wait to listen to it because as of right now, 2 days ago, Richard Wolff, the professor of economics at MIT and a, a, a few colleges, including 2 or 3 Ivy League colleges, who teaches economics and has written many books. So this man is talking about so many wonderful things right now. One of the things that he is talking about is worker co-ops. And I know this is off topic. However, I cannot get out of learning about more worker co-ops. And he has a group, a nonprofit called democracyatwork.org or democracyatwork.com. I'm sure either one will get you there. Typing in democracy at work, Richard Wolff, Wolff with 2 F's, will get you there. And what he does is he said the majority of the stories he gets of families he goes to help are a mom and pops or a family business. They're getting in their 60s and 70s. It's tiresome getting up and working every single day, and you're in charge of everything. So they want to kind of, relax, but they don't want to sell this business. They have spent their life putting together and building. Some have 20 employees, some have, 120 employees, and they're both considered small town business or small businesses. Many of them are a hub of capital and income and taxes in these areas. So to lose one, especially with 120 employees, is going to decimate a town, especially a small one. So someone in the company or someone outside of it who knows about democracy at work calls Richard Wolff. He sets up a meeting with just the owners or the mom and pops and says, this is what I can offer you. This is what would happen. A bigger company can come in and buy it. And once they buy it, you have no say. They can demolish it. They can fire everyone. They can get rid of everyone and start all new people and pay them $7.25 an hour. There's nothing we could do. It would be theirs and not yours. Another thing that you could do is just close it down. Cut your losses. Call it a day. A lot of people do that. And neither of these choices, obviously, for someone who poured their life into, this work, and they have employees that they care about, they, have Christmas parties with, they watch their children grow, they're their family, they spend all week with them. Yeah. They don't want them to lose their income, their insurance, their 401k, and have to move because they're going to lose everything. The third option is all of these employees that you have, all 120 of them, or all 20 of them, I want to bring all of them in on this meeting. And he brings all of them in. And then he says, how many of you would like, he mentions the first option and then the second option. And they're terrified because this is their job. And then he mentions the third option, which is my favorite. All of you can go in equally on buying this grocery store or, car repair store or pharmacy, whatever it may be. Buying it equally. You're all in it together. Everyone's equal. Everyone gets a vote on everything. No one's above everybody. You guys all know how to work here. You will all own it. So you will all have to vote on everything, on who your boss is. If your boss isn't working, you get to vote him out. You can set rules, and all of these worker co-ops have. The lowest paid person cannot make lower than 4 to 6% than the top. So if the top guy wants to give himself a raise, the bottom person has to get that if they give them 4%, they get 4%, and everybody in between. And if they want that 6%, well, then everybody gets that 6%. No matter how many times they do it, they have to do it too. So
right. And you only do it so much before you start to hurt the company, and no one would agree to it
because you're not allowed to. Yeah, you're only allowed to do it, once every 6 months, and you can't do it on your own in a worker co-op. You have to call a general assembly, and all of the people that own it and work it come in, and they evaluate you, the CEO. It's this like 18-page thing where they go through and everybody answers everything, and then those get handed in, and then they have a vote. Do they want him to continue to be their CEO, or would they like to hire someone else? And I love it. I love it. And then the way the pay goes is everybody gets their money. They get their paycheck, whether it's every 2 weeks or every month or whatever it is. And the first 10% of everyone's paycheck goes back into the company because of their factories. They have schools there. I mean, these are like little cities that are complete. People live there, work there. Everybody's in it together. Nobody is alone. They got you. There's no hierarchy either. There's nobody that works over you. He might have more information and have a CEO next to him, but he can get on the ground and put that washing machine together as well. Like everybody does the same stuff. So I just think that it's very interesting. And I'm finding out that there's over like 62 very healthy and thriving worker co-ops, and one of them is in France. It's in the north, and they are the most successful so far. It's been over 50 years. That first 10% of everyone's paycheck goes back into the facility. The next 45% goes into their personal retirement, and the next 45% is their pay. How many, like, say you work at Walmart, you're not getting 45% of the day's revenue of Walmart. No, nobody is, but it's split up equally, of course. Yeah. That 45%, you can borrow from it. It's yours that gets put away for 401k, but it's essentially everything that you make each month also goes into there. And Italians are very, very pissed. I'm sorry. Spanish are very, very, very pissed because they get the pension that everyone else gets, just like the worker co-op. But these people are retiring at age 50 to 60 with $44 million of their own because of the money actually goes to the people. Okay, socialism, guys. Instant, easy way, owning the means of production. So when the workers get together and say, no, you won't sell it to this corporation because we're going to buy it. We've already been to a bank for a worker co-op. We got a lawyer for a worker co-op, and we called democracy at work. This is what we're doing. And then those two owners can actually tell these worker co-ops, okay, I'd like to set some standards. These are some things I don't want changed. Can you not change the name for at least how many years, because it's kind of a staple? And can you keep our, whatever the name is, famous pizza or whatever, they can name some of those things. So please don't change. And every third Sunday, we help out with a food bank. Can you guys keep doing that? They can make sure those things still happen and everybody gets to be happy. And that couple or family gets to live in the neighborhood and still watch their business thrive with people they love, stop in and see them all the time. It's just, it doesn't leave animosity. It's not like when a company comes in because the state says we'll give you 10 million to come build here if you stay here for 10 years. And then every 10 years they move somewhere else to get more money. It devastates these areas. These worker co-ops cannot do that. I just I want everyone to look into them. If you need source information, please let me know. I have so much. I cannot get enough of it right now. The hope from what has been going on in Chile has really got me wanting to think forward into the things that can be next. I told Nacha already. What is going on in Chile is, I mean, I'm elated. If I could jump up and down and scream, I'm just so proud of the work they've done, the movements, it's amazing. They took back their government. It is now a socialist government. They know it was a soft coup by the U.S. They're not falling for it anymore. They have taken their government back, and it took millions of them marching in the street towards the state area where, you know, the leaders live. And if there's 11 million in your country and over 2 million of them are marching towards you side by side, you got to be a little bit scared. And that's where we need our leaders. I really believe that we need our leaders to feel like Nixon did when he surrounded the White House, because we didn't have the fence, with empty school buses, you know, backed up. And inside the White House, he was telling his people, they're going to get in. They're going to bust in over that, and they're going to get us. And I remember Richard Wolff also saying, that's where we need them to be. And then when I heard Chris Hedges, another one of my heroes, say the same story about Nixon and the buses and how terrified he was that he was going to be mobbed, and then following it with, that's where our politicians need to be. These are two people that I respect and look up to and have learned much from. Even though I'm a humanist and I don't want anybody hurt, if I could say that I know that they wouldn't hurt him, they would just go in and make it scary, then yes, that's exactly where they need to be. Exactly. I'm not trying to see any Saddam Hussein thing happen in the USA. I wouldn't be able to forgive the people that did it, even if they believe the same things I did, because obviously they don't, because that's not acceptable. Yeah.
Well said, Christy. That was like a real good flowy rant.
Thank you.
That was good. That was in like a straight line.
Sangria.
Sangria. Alhamdulillah. So I was gonna say a little more on Amy Coney Barrett. I wasn't, so I'm gonna back us up a little bit, and I want to focus on just moderately quickly, and then we can move on and then be done with the show soon, probably. So the thing that's bothering me with the Amy Coney, I keep saying Coney, is that she didn't need to be confirmed. Like the Democrats, you know, our saviors, they could have done just a list of things to make sure that she wasn't confirmed. They could have.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. They could have pushed for another impeachment, which would have put it front and center on the Congress list to do, which would push back her confirmation. Yeah. They could have. Any Democrat could have just disagreed with everything else that Mitch McConnell wanted to do, and therefore causing like the long vote process for every single thing that they wanted to do before they got to Amy Coney Barrett. And just the list really does go on to like, there's like a list of 10 to 20 things that I had heard and like looked over just today, like 10 to 20 things. Like it didn't need to happen. They really could have fought for it. Nancy Pelosi was just like, nah. But then as soon as she was confirmed, you see all of these prominent Democrats and Democratic representatives saying, this is why you need to vote. We need to be in power so this doesn't happen to you. They didn't say it as condescending, but they might as well have.
I think we need some of that, though. Honestly, that not to the presidency, not to, senators, just some senators. If you're a journalist and you're asking them questions and they're starting to get just cocky, full of ego, and asshole-ish, yeah, then there's no more saying Mr. or excuse me, sir, may I interrupt? There's no more. There's just into the reply question. And I totally dig that. I like journalism that pulls no punches, that when someone, a politician says something like like Biden saying that he participated in civil rights marches. No, that is a journalist's job to say, I didn't know that. Can we fact check that real quick before I allow that on my program? That totally responsible. Wasn't rude. And then immediately go right into the next question. So, because Biden will just keep, following the questions.
Yeah, like you have to have a follow-up question, right? Yeah. When you hear shit
and
like
it can be off topic if you knew that they were kind of like, oh shit, off topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't need to go much further into it. That's my point. Is like it didn't have to happen. Didn't have to happen, and showing how far they'll go to where they won't. The Democrats won't help pass any more stimulus, and they will let.
They went on break, Mac. They're on break.
That doesn't.
They're on vacation. Congress is on vacation. Americans, how many of you guys need that unemployment? Any extra help? Don't know how you're going to pay rent. Our government went on vacation. Not the left, not the right, the government.
All of it. Yep. And this is where we are. Actually, speaking of where we are, let's go into that right now. Looking at multiple, and you can go back to Comfy Combo, Nacha. Sorry, thank you, sorry.
Sorry, not sorry is what I think you just said.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot.
I don't know how you feel about the election right now, looking at polls, right? Because polls are flawed, but also they help you get a feel for the future. That's really all they're good for. You can just never look at a poll and the same thing's going to pretty much fucking happen.
But if you take 3, 4, 5, I like to take 6 or 7. And out of that 7, there's 3 that I find very reliable because of the sources they come from. They're volunteers. They're not in it to make anything. And then a couple of the mainstream. And look at all of them and see kind of the average. And I don't feel like that gives me a glimpse of what is reality. I feel like that gives me a glimpse of what they think is reality. And so to me, it will be curious to see the outcome of that, knowing because of what happened in 2016, when everyone was saying she had it without a landslide, that glass ceiling is going to be smashed. Woo, women. And then it didn't, but all the polls. And then all you hear, CNN and especially MSNBC, it's just so weird. It's so weird. Not looking into it as a journalist. So independent journalists have actually gone in and spent 2.5 years, 2 years and 8 months, investigating this. And what they found, Mac, is so fucking infuriating. So this is how the numbers work. Exit polls are when humans come out of the polling center and people are there to say, hey, who did you vote for? And they write that down. And so at the end of the night, these are the exit polls. This is what we have, which kind of shows this is what they should show. However, in many states, including my own, including Ohio, including Texas, including Wyoming, including Kansas, including Missouri, including California, including New York, there's so many of them that have done this. So you go in to vote and it's not going to be valid and you're not going to know. So it's going to be put into something else. And so it's just pushed out of the voting. Now, you said Biden, so that goes down as the exit poll. And how they found this out was they went into the numbers. All of these exit polls are saying this, but the places that voted, they weren't saying that. So what they asked next were, which one's the ones that were kind of pushed from the rolls? That's where all the names were. Not names, votes were. Of course, your name doesn't show. It's anonymous. However, so if you're getting purged from the voter rolls, you don't know that. And you won't know that until weeks after the election. I have a website that I vote by mail. It's always easy. Stacey and I and Isabel now twice because, you know, of her age. We have always vote by mail. We've never had a problem with it. Florida was one of the first states to make it just universal. Anybody could vote by mail. And years ago, I don't feel like we will have issues like other states do as far as regular voting by mail. I feel like we'll have problems with people's voter rolls being tossed, and especially by name or zip code, unfortunately, because that's what they found in the investigative reporting. So, not to tell you a whole bunch of wonderful good news about how wonderful having a democracy is. I don't feel like we live in a democracy. I feel like we live in a
Debbie Downer.
neo let's see, a neo democracy.
Yeah.
No, a neo representative democracy. The representative part is where I have a problem because they may be representatives, but they're not representatives of the people. Not all of them. There are, you know, maybe 12, maybe 35 that actually listen to their constituents. Most of their names aren't known because they're actually busy working. And the rest, they have bosses with more money than 50% of the world will ever be able to make together. They can do whatever they want. And so, I mean, you might think it sounds hyperbolic, but we don't live in a democracy. We live in a flawed neo representative democracy that's leaning on fascism, which is when, you know, the corporate world and the state come together and everything's for the corporate world and the state instead of people, and much more. Fascism is much more, but, you know, Christopher Hitchens, who I love, says, and he might have been repeating it from someone else, when fascism comes to the States, it's going to be wrapped in the American flag and carrying a Bible. And goddamn.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Yes.
Well,
yeah, lots of anxiety over this week. Lots. With hearing how she feels that Roe v. Wade should be abolished because it's barbarism, way before thinking about Supreme Court. And as herself in her comfortable, confident role where she wrote stuff like this all the time, she has ruled 9 out of 10 times for corporate when the court is people's, families, individual against or versus a corporation. It's always the corporation. Always the corporation. And she does believe in Citizens United. Not just a little bit, a lot. And I hope you guys know, but if you didn't, she was 22 or 23 years old when Gore v. Bush happened and the count of the votes got cut off. And she was part of Bush's campaign or volunteers, and she was chosen to fly as fast as she could with everyone else down to Florida and Miami to intimidate the poll counters, the poll volunteers, these little old people that always volunteer each year, to intimidate them so bad that they stopped counting. And she was part of that. So think about that and think about what is going on in our election and what one of the outcomes could be, as far as, hey, it's midnight in Hawaii. I let it go that far, at least. I didn't stop it, mid-country. I let it go to Hawaii's midnight. It's time to stop. So I'm sending in the National Guard and all of my Proud Boys. I told you to stand up and stand by. It's time to get over there and make sure that counting is stopped. My mind wants to say that's very unlikely and probably won't happen. But the other side of my very logical mind says we've seen it happen. And Jeb and Bush, it just wasn't as violent. However, so much has changed. And 2020, actually, the last 3 years have seen more activism in the streets and otherwise in this country than in any other time in our history, even the civil rights era. I mean, it way surpassed it. We're living through what history in the future is going to look back at, like, the civil rights era, and then 2020, whatever it might be called. Just like Occupy, they did change a few things, just not what their main objective was, because not too many people stayed with them. It needs to be, we have leftist here, some people who are a centrist, some people who are conservative, and all these groups want money out of politics. So I think that if they all got together just for that, let's not talk about anything else, getting money out of politics, that's how we're going to do it. And then that makes my noggin think they have to separate and conquer. If we're separated, you got to keep them separated. And they think, I can't like that person, they're the other. Or because they don't agree with me on this, I can't talk to them. We'll never get together to handle those one policy ideas like money out of politics. And if you're not involved with anything to help that, you guys should go to wolf-pack.com and follow your state. And when it comes to your state, get off your ass, because we have 12 states, 13 states that have signed on, and we need 34 states out of the 51 states to sign on saying that they too want to have a constitutional convention so that we can change this out of our constitution, that Citizens United means that money is free speech and corporations are people, because nobody believes that. Corporations aren't people. Houses aren't ponies. Like, that's, we can't just start changing shit. And Glass-Steagall, I'll leave it at that. Think about that. We need more than Glass-Steagall. We need another FDR with updated everything and a Green New Deal. And unfortunately, Mac, we're not going to get either of those in the next 4 years.
Shut up. I don't want to hear
it. We're just not.
No, we're not. So that said, I'm going to make a prediction. Joe Biden wins next week.
I agree.
And a lot of people are going to feel way better about it. And I do think things will get worse for the progressive movement for it.
Right. Right.
But I think they would also get worse if Trump was in, because
Yes.
this,
Because there will be more silence.
yeah, and also the further it's rigged to the right, the harder it is to get it to the left.
Well, fascist is exponentially harder to fight and critique. You can't critique it. You know, if you go up in Senate and say, listen, you're being fascist, you're killing people, they will just arrest you because they're fascist. They believe that the executive, the president, should have the most power, and Congress is just there to vote on his yeses and nos. That's how they feel. And just like that one lady said, I never in my life thought I wanted a dictator. But I have to have one. I want it to be Donald Trump because they need a strong man. And as a humanist, it breaks my heart. I don't think of her as a crazy woman. I feel she is a victim of indoctrination, of right-wing radio, of bad news, of fake news, of scare tactics and fear all day long. And when you are that scared with things that you feel are factual information, and why is it anybody listening? You're terrified. You'd rather have someone that at least agrees with you 60% of the time, you know, that won't change anything because they're terrified. They'd rather have that because it's a strong man. And we know from history and data and studies that have gone on, when there are a lot of stresses in countries, a lot of unemployment, a lot of violence, it is 50-50 whoever has the biggest movement. If the right wing does, you'll probably get fascism and hard right politics, which means, you know, no protesting or you'll get shot, shutting down all of the local radios that are in indigenous languages. So the information shut down, you know, making sure that everyone who wasn't part of the in group had graffiti all over the walls that they were dumb Indians or dumb indigenous or ignorant Brazilian forest people, and you know, just nasty stuff all over the South. I I think that it is 50% as easy if people organize. And listen, guys, not only are there more of us on the middle to left than there are on the right who would be willing to organize, there is significantly more of us than them. They make between 26 and 32% of the country that voted for Trump. So if everyone else can agree that obviously they didn't vote for Trump, whoever they voted for, doesn't matter, they didn't vote for Trump. If we could all get together on just one or two things, no matter what our ideologies are, I think that that is how we're going to be able to do things. Besides getting money out of politics, I do have a lot of hope. I have a lot of hope because every single person, even if they're super Christian and conservative, when I mention getting money out of politics, they can't say enough. They they hate it. Conservatives hate it. They hate it. They hate that these elections that are federal are funded by corporations. And if corporations are giving millions, he said it doesn't take an idiot to think that even if they don't do their bidding, they're never going to be critical of them, ever, even if they're polluters. So we got to end that. We need journalism to be actual. I don't believe that anybody is unbiased at all. However, we need, you know, as close to unbiased, two or three sides or both sides. We need to hear what everybody says. And then we need to see the goddamn facts from the experts, not the 1% over here that's saying, however, guys. No, what science consensus is saying, and here's the work to show it. That's the kind of news I want to see. in the future. I think about that a lot. I think about media literacy a lot. And I wish that I had enough money to take a few courses in communication and in world history, of course. I mean, I know I love it anyway, so it would be my favorite class. But just to have that degree and be able to, educate people on simple things like this, I feel like if I had that behind me, uh, I would be able to articulate it faster and more to the point and be able to answer all the questions because my mind would be full of everything I would need for the basic questions, not just the obscure ones, because I go down the nerd hole, not the rabbit hole, the nerd hole. And I'm like, what else information can I find out about this? Yeah. Let's say hi to folks that are here who I didn't get a chance to say hi to. I did want to tell everyone I was first, even though I'm a host, and I was told it doesn't care. However, I was still first. Mr. Brantley, hello, Sugar Pie. Brantley's aunt is really sick. I don't know if he wanted me to tell you this, or he probably didn't, but everybody, you don't have to say anything to him or make him feel awkward. Just have him in your thoughts. And he's really hoping she makes it. I'm sorry, Brantley, but the more people you have on your side, the more people who will be there for you. If they don't know you're going through anything, you know, that's what friends are for. So,
Yep.
be family, love your name. Hey, hey. Of course, Notch is in the chat because he's the chat god, the chat lord. Theo's amazing. I enjoy seeing Theo here. And you guys have had some fun conversations. I love to see that. And Smitty, love you. Half a heart. I have a heart. I have a heart you. So if you have a heart on your shirt, do you or don't you have a heart on?
You do.
Right. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. No more
Logic, facts. That's what we bring here.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
Also,
You have to be
hello to
careful
chat, hello to Jeff, hello to Gut.
what you say to people.
TV tube me. We have a nice little group here tonight.
Yeah.
Extra.
Oh my gosh,
extra,
Carlos.
oh yeah, I did see Carlos in there.
Nanu, my brother.
I need to get my
Yes, you do. I already told you
fork.
that.
It's over here. You guys can't see it. I can see it.
My dad, Mr. Chet, is here. Everybody say hi to Pops. P-O-P, apostrophe S. I will allow it. And then he is my biggest supporter, of course, because I'm his oldest, and I told him he has to be, or he can't mod. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't even give him the moderation. I'm pretty sure not judge it, and I absolutely love you for that because, of course. Oh my gosh, yeah, I love when Daddy chats in the TV to me always cracks me up. Gup, I'm so glad you came, Gup. I love when Gup's in the chat, and always doorknob head, always. I don't know what kind of award he needs, but he can make any day that I'm having, even if I want to still be upset and mad. Like my cheeks hurt because he's so inappropriately funny in the most inappropriately way, in the most awkward live conversation in a stream. I can't so much that I love him. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm really a bad person. I shouldn't be laughing at that. But humor's humor.
And hi, Stacy. Stacy.
Lopez. So Stacy came home, or before she went to work today, randomly told me So I looked into, what it would be, what we would have to do to get married. And because she's scared of, we're both kind of scared of what could happen. And she looked into the law, when the laws can change, and it's what, like November 15th, and then another date. And she said, so I was thinking, let's get married January 2nd. I'm like I couldn't even breathe.
Wow.
For a minute, I thought, oh my God, pretend you're breathing or you're going to turn blue or die. And she was like, oh gosh. I told her to take the breath out of your sails. I said, I thought you were going to say, hey, hon, getting ready for work. Or, oh my goodness. So there's that. However, I hope she's not listening, but she might be. So I'm not going to say what I got her. However, I did get her something for Christmas that I had to pay on a little bit. And then, which is just ironic that I got that for her for Christmas when that's what she wants to do a few days later after Christmas. I'll tell you two about it in a private message. How about that? Because I'm sure you're like, what the fuck is it? So, interesting. I would say the Lord, but it's the League. It works in mysterious ways. It moves in logically silly ways.
Usually silly ways.
Yeah, mostly silly ways. I wear my silly pants nearly every day. I do. I have a silly butt that they need to cover, so it's kind of like the prescription for a silly butt is silly pants.
I just wear my silly hat.
Silly hats? I'm down with silly hats.
Oh yeah.
If you guys have not gone to my Facebook page, there is a photo of a guy who took like parts from a car, radiator, and he connected, like there is a filter where there's no COVID coming in, but he has to wear this big thing on his head and these two things come down to his mouth. He's wearing a flannel and some like Wrangler jeans, and he is, he's American. It actually probably took him a long time to do it. And it made me laugh so hard, I almost peed my pants. And every time I see it, I can't stop laughing. I grew up in a car family. I grew up in a car family who smoked pot. And so sometimes things went down like that in the backyard. So it brought me back home. Yes, it did.
Funny.
It did. I do have good topics for next week. So I do want to talk about how amazing this win has been for Chile next week. I really, really do. And then I'm not sure if I want to cover ex-Mexican military head arrested in USA drug charges. Very big. Or if I want to cover one of my favorite journalists resigning from The Intercept, which he started today.
Glenn
Greenwald. Yep. I understand why. I do. Yeah. I do.
That stuff happens. And
it does.
It's sad when it does.
Actually, the letter is available and it actually ends amicable and actually friendly and warm even. Talks about what great friends he made, and some of them are still like at the head there, and he never wants to lose those friendships, and that place that he didn't want to say anything bad about The Intercept or leave any bad notes because he made a lot of great friends who still work there. And I guess the leading woman who works there, we made a very close friendship, and I think she's a very good human. So when something gets big and is dangerous, like The Intercept brought real news, real investigative journalism, Glenn Greenwald had to go into hiding because he lives in Brazil with his husband, and he was investigating Brazil's president Bolsonaro. And Bolsonaro, at the end of this investigation, he had enough evidence with enough sources to back it up that Bolsonaro committed fraud and all kinds of other financial law illegals. You know, he's illegal. He's a criminal is what I'm trying to say. And then there were other charges coming in from the government because of things like this. And he had to have 24-hour security because death threats, terrifying. And he's in Brazil. So flying back into Brazil from America was scary for him. They kept him for a little while, asked him all these dumb questions, went through his things. And, you know, if he just disappeared, I would have said 2 years ago, of course something will be done about it and justice will be figured out. But Jamal Khashoggi has happened, and I'm a little bit smarter now. Jamal Khashoggi got dismembered, and not a gosh darn thing has been done about it. So I don't have faith in that. I'm just really scared. I don't want to leave that on you guys. I just read a lot of history. I read a lot of policy. I read into a lot of the people that I want to cover. And after a while, it becomes very easy. And I know I have a monkey mind, and our monkey minds follow patterns. They find patterns. They search for patterns. So I do take that into account. But I'm just starting to, after a while of doing this for now 2 years, a little over 2 years, of getting that spidey sense of this, there's something behind this, and I have to look into it further. And when I do, it's a lot of the times, if not most of the times, worse than I thought. And we got to stop being separated. We have to come together from, I don't care if you're a centrist left-leaning person, if you're a centrist conservative-leaning person, if you want certain things, we should just come together and get those things done. And show the world that people who have different beliefs and ideologies can be humans, work together to make the world a better goddamn place. I just think that that's important. So maybe that's what I should leave it on, something a little bit more positive. And go. By the way, I'm sassy, classy, and badass.
Badassy. Very nice. I want to just give an extra special shout out to Smitty, Carlos, Stacy, Chet, Robert X, Brantley. Those are our patrons. And if you guys want to become a patron, you can do so at the link that's provided in the chat and down in the doodly doo. Check that out. We're
talking about my doodly doo, Matt.
It's down there. Down there in the doodly.
Down there. Exactly.
Yeah. Everyone check out the doodly doo.
It's in the doodly doo.
It's in the doodly doo. And the I think we were thinking of trying to do something a little special for our patrons soon. So if we get that all set up, we will let them know. But if you guys want to know what that is and be a part of it, make sure you become a patron. So do that, and hopefully we'll shoot you a little email soon. Thank you everyone for joining us. Another fantastic fun Wednesday night. I hope everyone enjoys their Halloween or has enjoyed their Halloween. Not right. Sure. And enjoy the full moon. It's pretty cool. And why don't you all stay humanist? For goodness and godless sake.